If anyone would like to speak tonight, please go see Kim Deason, our city clerk. She can, you can sign up there if you haven't. Thank you. Good luck.
Well, that's the general public comments, and so I won't put any of the rest of them over here till we get through that.
Yeah, they saw you sat down, J.C. Welcome, everyone. Glad you could be here tonight. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You want to start with Ian? All right, we'd like to have an update on the weather. Ian, if you can come forward. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolochinsky, and Ms. Deason. So the rain is moving out, but we do still have some waters rising in parts of the city. Good news is we do have waters receding in other parts of the city. I do want to touch on the collaboration of all the city departments today. It's been a big group effort, team effort. Everyone's worked really well together. So that makes my job easier. So I really appreciate the assistance and support of everybody today. It's been a long day for everyone. So some updates I want to provide you this evening. Some of the road closures we still have due to flooding in our area. Cox Mill Road between Pacing and Heritage Farm, that is closed. Then Cox Mill at Poplarton at the bridge is closed. Stow Road is obviously still closed. Old Airport between Crestmont and Sutter Lane, that's closed due to flooding. And then all the parks and greenways are closed and will remain closed until further assessment there. We have moved a fire engine, an armored vehicle with police officers, and our mobile command unit over to Cox Mill High School to stage, because with the Cox Mill closures, it's put 3 of those neighborhoods kind of on an island. So we wanted to make sure that we were maintaining emergency services for those 3 neighborhoods over there off of Cox Mill, with the water coming over the roads on either side of Cox Mill. So we'll continue to assess that until the waters recede, and we're able to make complete access there without staging those resources in that area. Power outage, we also have a power outage affecting approximately 960 customers in the Poplar Tent area due to a large tree that fell on power lines there. So that'll be an extended scene with city assets working out there to mitigate that. So that does include the traffic lights in the area. Poplar Tent from Rock Hill Church Road to International is closed by NCDOT for that utility restoration. So everyone's out there working hard to get that back up and going. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I plan on sending out an update in the morning first thing, announcing what road closures are still in effect and what our floodwater situation is.
Okay, Ian, thank you very much. Question from council? Yeah, Ian, when you, even though the rain's starting to fall back a little bit, when do you expect to peak on the flooding?
So it's hard to tell. With the rain kind of trickling out, we may still see some rain showers throughout the night just with those bands circulating around us. The National Weather Service says it's pushing north and it's going to pick up speed and be out of our area by tomorrow. It's just those lingering showers and everything draining into those creeks and the river and everything coming up in different areas.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And again, to the city staff and Lloyd, all the work you guys have been doing to keep us moving forward. We appreciate that. Next order of business is the approval of minutes from June 25th, July 9th, and July 11th. Is there a motion?
So move, Mayor. I'll second that.
Okay, all ready to vote, all in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you very much. Tonight, we have two presentations left to make from number 1 and number 4. And number 1 is a presentation certificate of appreciation for outgoing commission members Carolyn Coggins, William Eisenhower, and Eric Williamson. What I would like to do is have Carolyn come forward. She's not here? Okay, well, then we'll go to William. If you could come forward, William Eisenhower, I'll be right down there with you. William, we sure appreciate what you've been doing for our city over the years and what you continue to do for various parts of our community. So I have a little certificate of appreciation I'd like to just go ahead and read, honoring you tonight. Whereas William Eisenhower has rendered service to the city of Concord and deserves special recognition, and where interesting. You'll understand that I'll get that fixed. Yes. Whereas Mr. Eisenhower served on the Historic Preservation Commission in the city of Concord for 3 years, whereas the position gave him impartial judgment after hearing oral and written information pertinent to any application of the Historic Preservation Commission. Whereas his performance in the execution of the duties and responsibilities of the member of the commission have been characterized with excellent and constructive contributions to our city. Now therefore, I, William C. Dush, on behalf of City Council, are pleased to tender a certificate of appreciation to William Eisenhower for sincere appreciation and thank him for the distinguished work in our city and highly commend him for the manner in which he carries out the duties and responsibilities. With that said, I think he deserves a big round of applause, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Would you like me to get this fixed?
Sure, that's fine.
But I'll get it.
Take it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Eric Williamson. Are you here tonight? I'll make sure he gets this also. You're probably wondering why I have a UNC mug and a sun drop up front. Very significant reason for that is that 5 years ago, we lost one of our council members. We won't even remember him after 5 years, Samuel Meyer Sam Leader, who passed away 5 years ago. Sam was a native of Whiteville, and Jennifer, could you come up forward while we're starting this? Thank you. Sam was a native of Whiteville, North Carolina, where he lettered in football, basketball, and tennis. Following high school, he periodically, proudly attended UNC Chapel Hill, where he continued a lifelong friendships, as well as meeting his true love, Shannon. In 1991, he graduated with Bachelor of Business Administration and a Master's of Accounting. In 1965, he joined Concord Potters and Company, where he worked his way up from a staff accountant to a managing partner. He loved both his Porter and Company family and clients, and is well known for saying, "What do you want first, the good news or the bad?" If you know Sam, you remember that. I also remember one thing he told me when I became mayor. somebody would come and ask him a question about something, and if he didn't know the answer and he was there thinking about it, he would proudly and emphatically say, "I'll put it on the list." Sam's addiction was to Sundrop. I've just learned that his children fully understand that and agree with 100%. It was the golden cola, and well known to fully expected to keep the profits of Sundrop in the black. His community involvement was intensive and something to be very proud and he's sincerely honored to be a part of. In addition to being a member of Concord City Council, Sam spread his wings all over our community. He was involved in many organizations. He was a member and past president of Concord Rotary Club, member and former chair of Concord Regional Chamber of Commerce, full board member of Uwharrie Bank Executive Board, Atrium Cabarrus Northeast Hospital Advisory Board, treasurer of the Academic Learning Center, treasurer of Ella Ford Foundation, board member of Central North Carolina Boy Scouts, and was extremely proud Eagle Scout, past board member of Carolina International School, member of Temple Or Olam and Temple Israel in Salisbury, active supporter of Concord High Athletics. Beside the love of his life, Shannon, his proud accomplishments were his two sons, Matthew and Bennett, he was probably brainwashed to be rabid Tar Heel fans, as well as disdain for Duke. We are fortunate to have known Sam and will always remember his love of the community. We will also miss that amazing laugh. I don't think any of us will ever forget it. I'm so glad that we could have a moment here. Jennifer, would you like to
Sure.
move forward?
So we have special guests here tonight. We asked Shannon and Bennett and Matthew. So would you guys join us up here? I have a little something for you. I don't think they knew they were going to be standing in the front when they got here, but of course they have their Tar Heel shirts on. I feel like that remembrance is the biggest gift you can give somebody. So 5 years ago, when the council honored Sam and honored your dad, we all wore flowers. And we took all those flowers and we took them down to the bead lady. And we had little beads made for each of us, each of the members that were on council at the time. And that's something that's really special to us. And in fact, Lloyd and I were just talking about that today. And Lloyd was talking about it sits in his drawer in the city manager's office. So at the same time, I also had her make some things for you guys. So 5 years later, we would like to present to you. There's a pair of earrings for you. Those are made out of that. And then there's a money clip for each of you boys.
That is beyond.
So every time you look at that, we hope that you will know that we remember your dad, we remember Sam, and this community and the city is better because we had him, and I know I'm better because I had him as a friend. So we're glad you're here.
Thank you. I don't know if it's just me or if it's a human thing, but that's the one thing you're most afraid of, is that the person you love will be forgotten. So 5 years later, this is truly, it means, I know you know it means a lot, but I think a lot of you probably can relate to have your loved one remembered. When Sam was elected in 2015, I was taller than these boys. And it was the happiest day of Sam's life, except for maybe marrying me, I don't know, and having the boys. He was personal and professional friends with everybody up here, and probably a lot of people out there too. He really never met a stranger. And I can truly say he respected all of you, and he, like me, loved you. So thank you all very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Shannon, before you step down, some of the council members would like to say some things also. Shannon, there are some stories that council would like to say, and I'd also like to present that with you, the words we've said tonight. Yes, you may if you'd like. Absolutely. Council?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll be short and sweet. Besides knowing Sam, Sam was a very close friend of mine. It's probably the reason why I ran for office, one of them. And he encouraged me a long time ago to do it and was supportive of me and did a great deal for me, a lot for me, in hosting an issue at his house for me and a few other things. Sam, I knew Sam from being involved with him on other boards of other organizations in the area. CBB, which Don is here tonight. Sam was we got to know him very first then. It was about 2008, I think. We hired Potter as our folks to do the audit for us, and that's where it came into play then. I thought Sam was very professional, did a great job, and he'd come in, again, that laugh he had and that smile, you can't forget about it, even at that. Sam was the only guy I know, and I served with him on the chamber too, and when he was chair, we loved having him as chair, because he was always enthusiastic and upbeat about what was going on. We weren't so upbeat because we didn't have any money at that time. Speaking of which, I've never known anybody like Sam that could deliver a financial statement. Most of the time, not so good, and be cheerful and enthusiastic about it, and you felt good about it at the end of that. Somehow we're gonna get through this and find the money to make this thing work. But the last thing I'll say is, if y'all got to attend Sam's 50th birthday party, some in the room here probably did, but there was a bull there, a mechanical bull, Shannon had there. That's the last time, the only time, first time, last time, the only time I'll ever get on a mechanical bull, and I'll never forget that. So, but again, he's a good friend and miss him all every day.
Well, knowing Sam, first time I met him, and everybody has mentioned that laugh, Dave Phillips brought me to Rotary. And I'm sitting in Rotary, I knew a lot of people there, but it's first time there, and I'm looking around and I'm in the middle of a conversation with someone, and this laugh comes from across the room, and I said, Dave, what in the world is that? Who is that? And he said, oh, Sam, you'll get used to it, it's all good. And from there on, it was phenomenal. It's infectious, it makes you feel good about yourself. So that was, as everybody said, that's probably my first remembrance of Sam. The boys. One of the last conversations, unfortunately, Sam and I had was about the boys, and it was close to Father's Day. And we talked about Savannah was getting her license and things of that nature, but we talked about some things between our children that were similarities, and how could I, be a better dad or do something different or really understand what's going on with a child of that age or a young adult of that age. So that stays with me a lot. But one of the bigger things the council that does remember work session, you can come up with a combative, aggressive point of view with the personalities we have, and 7 different ones at all times. And Sam would take it and he would have a different point of view, but you couldn't tell that he was that passionate about it, because he would honor your point of view as number one. He would not jump out there and say, that's stupid, that's not right. I could look at him across the way in the work session though, and when something comes up, I could see him kind of shake his head and look down for a moment. I knew there's going to be some conversation about this, but it was always tactful, professional, and on point. So we do miss Sam a lot. We really do.
Shannon, Bennett, and Matthew, I wasn't going to say anything. First off, we've had so many good times, and most of the stories can't be told in this setting. But this thing about the laugh, because I've got the laugh story, and it was Pam and my wedding, and we picked this very special song for our first dance that wasn't really well known. And it started out, and the first word, I could hear Sam was laughing so loud because the first word was trouble. And Sam was just cackling. And we always remember that when we talk about our wedding. So.
Andy?
I am blessed to sit in Sam Leader's chair. Sam was a neighbor, he was a friend, and he was my councilman. And at his death, everybody was stunned because he was on the path to be one of the best councilmen that the city ever had. Mm-hmm. He was a remarkable man. And I want to simply say thank you to Shannon, because she is one who encouraged me to sit in Sam's seat briefly. And it is an honor to be here, Shannon, and to remember him and your boys a remarkable man. Thank you.
Shannon, of course, I was not on council at the time Sam was, but our paths crossed many times, during the course of under other city business. That smile, always warming and welcoming. I believe that smile could warm the coldest heart. And thank you for your support when I did decide to run for council. I felt Sam's support through you. So thank you, Bennett and Matthew as well.
Sure.
Well, of course, I wasn't on council or having any of those council relationships with Sam, but he was our corporate accountant. And you talk about, he would say, do you want the good news or the bad news? Well, when I walked in the door, it was always, well, do you want the bad news or do you want the really bad news? And somehow or the other, yes, he was always able to deliver that. And I would come out of there feeling like, okay, we're okay. I don't know how, but we are. And so Sam did indeed have that ability to make you feel good about whatever situation you were in. And so I appreciate that very much. And we continue to do business with that firm primarily because of the legacy that he left there. So.
Thank you all for being a part of this tonight. This is a big part of our past, and Shannon, thank you very, very much for being here. All right. Do we have any scouts here tonight? Would you like to stand and give us your name and your troop? Very good. Thank you for being here tonight. And we do have a Concord 101 starting up next week. So we have 2 more classes of that. So we'll start seeing Concord 101 students, residents here. All right, we're going to move on to our informational items and department reports, the downtown streetscape update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Call on Kaylee to come forward. She's going to give the presentation tonight. Paige could not be here, so I think Steve is going to come in and cover for Paige's portion. So Kaylee, if you would.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Deason. The past month with the streetscape project, they've completed quite a bit. So they finished the sewer main from Cabarrus up toward the library. That's 207 linear feet. They also did most of the lateral tie-ins minus the little bit that just connects right to the building, which they'll work on when they do the sidewalk work there. Storm drains are complete through the intersection of Cabarrus Avenue as well, and they did the first lift of asphalt, so the first 5 inches of asphalt are on Cabarrus Avenue. They poured that on Friday. Sidewalk and retaining wall are complete. You see the picture on the right shows some of that work, and that's on the east side of Union Street between the mid-block and Cabarrus Avenue. Landscape drains, roof drains, and soil cells are also complete between mid-block and Cabarrus. And all of the light pole bases are on the east side installed. And then there's 2 more seat walls. You see one of them on that right photo. There are 2 near 2 gals and 2 up in this area, so that completes all the seat walls for the project. And then the other photos, you're kind of seeing the progression of the sidewalk work from the form work to when it was poured and then some of the curing there. Current work, they are working on the water main north of Cabarrus up toward the library. They're about at little past the Hotel Concord right now, or right at the Hotel Concord. They are working on the light pole bases and grading for the sidewalk and curb and the landscape edge on the west side of Cabarrus, or sorry, on the west side of Union from Cabarrus to the mid-block. And they're also working on the brick paver installation on the west side. So they made pretty good progress, but obviously had to stop because of the rain today on the brick pavers. And then they're installing curb at Cabarrus Avenue as well. So they have the form work you're seeing on that left photo in place, and then once the weather clears up, they'll be able to pour the concrete for the curbs at Cabarrus. Once they get the curbs in place, they'll then do the next layer of asphalt before opening the road for the intersection. And then after they get the water line up toward the library, they'll come back and do the 2-inch water services between Cabarrus and the library, and then they can work on the storm drain as well. So that'll be upcoming. And you're seeing the trolley track. I think some of you might have seen that on Facebook, that they found some of the old trolley tracks in Union Street toward the library. So we have some of that saved. So this is actually a photo from last month, just showing where we were. And then the next photo is a similar location showing all of that sidewalk work that I talked about that's been installed on the left, which is what we call the east side. Some more drone images looking down. There you can see where the asphalt was paved. These were taken on Monday. We wanted to get ahead of the storms, make sure we got some good shots. So this was Monday's progress. And there's that form work that I spoke about for the curb. Just continuing to see on the left where that sidewalk has been poured, where they're working on brick paver installation, and then on the right, you're seeing the form work for what will be pours maybe later next week or early the following week. On what we call the west side, the right of your screen, they have to get the curb for the road installed before they can do the sidewalk pours. Further down the street here, where more of the sidewalks have already been complete and some of the courthouse progress, and then of course the shot of the water tower and the Novi progress, as well as the streetscape. And this shot just kind of showing you where they're working on that water line north of Cabarrus Avenue.
Go back one just for a second, Kevin.
Sure.
Just for a second. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, what you're seeing kind of on that right side of the road is that progression of the sidewalks there. And then I thought, because we have access to the camera that's on the downtown website, I did a 30-day time lapse, so we'll start that. And you're seeing on the left side where the form work is poured. It's a little hard to see, but you can see how the sidewalk starts kind of coming up toward Cabarrus Avenue, and some of that form work happening on the right side as well. Continue to keep our website updated every week with new photos of the progress and an update on what's been occurring and what we're looking ahead toward the following week, as well as updating our map. So we will change this when Cabarrus Avenue opens back up to make sure people are aware, and as the fencing moves north toward Killarney as well. Still seeing that 60% average between the two parking decks, right around that number, give or take. These are similar to what you've seen before, but I have done kind of finessed them a little bit. So now you're seeing the white dashed line is the current fence, kind of including the intersection. South of that, they're working on the sidewalk and streetscape work. And this is up to the library. And then once they open that intersection, it'll be open to traffic, but we will still anticipate seeing some of the sidewalk work happening at the intersection. So at all the 4 points, so the traffic will be flowing, but we'll still see some work. And then we'll see the water line and storm drain work continue as well. Looking up towards September, when we move out of that area, this is a little bit broken up compared to what I've been showing in the past. So we'll see the fence move up toward Killarney for the water line improvements there. Remember, this is just water line at this point. There's no sewer or storm water, and there's only 4 service connections here, so a little bit less work than the other areas. Looking through October for the sidewalk improvements, and then through the fall for those sort of final finishing touches. And also a reminder, I know this was presented last month and we've spoken about it before. This drawing shows a highlight of the section of the sidewalk outside of the 1975 courthouse renovation that was left out of the original project scope. And as a reminder, we left that piece out because we weren't exactly sure how the two projects would align. So asking the contractor to bid on this portion was difficult because we didn't know when they would even be able to do the work. Some pieces of the scope were in our project, but some were left out of it. And so we're currently looking at this piece and negotiating the work to be done there. But the next picture will show where it is now. You can see where the county is kind of left with the sodding that's been added. The important thing to remember is on the left side, the sidewalk will be open. Those businesses won't be affected by the work that still remains on the right side, on the courthouse side. So we're in negotiation, trying to figure out how to get this work done as soon as possible and what that looks like for the project. But just wanted to bring that up to everyone. And then with that, I'll let Steve take over.
A quick question.
Sure.
Is there any way to incorporate the streetcar line that you discovered in this work at all? What happens to that? Do we just put it in storage somewhere?
I would say there's a possibility. I don't know if it would be in the streetscape now, but if there was some way to make a piece of art from it or do something unique that could be installed, we can certainly think about it. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Good evening. So I love this photo, the one on the left. Couldn't pick a better one. So with Robert Burge and Ford Craven, Robert, they claimed they were the first ones out at 11 o'clock on August the 1st. Robert serving one of Southern Strange beers. So,
And that was completely legal at that time?
yes, sir.
Thank you.
At 11 o'clock, it was completely
Chief?
legal on the sidewalk. So if you'll recall, at your July meeting, you wanted to proceed with the social district starting August the 1st. We could not finalize everything until you approved the branding, which you approved in July. So in 14 business days, we printed the stickers and distributed 500 each to all the participating businesses they're serving. We printed and distributed all the window stickers for those that are serving, those that were allowing drinks, and those that were not. We finalized the district with the ABC Commission. We printed boundary signs and coordinated with the sign shop on the boundary install. We updated and made live the social district webpage, and we worked in conjunction with the police department to conduct 2 trainings for all the businesses that we're serving. So big shout out to Cherie, Paige, and Kaylee for making that happen in such a short period, and it's been well received. So just as another one, we'll give a shout out to Explorer Cabarrus, and Donna's here. This was a post that they made talking about the immersive makers workshops. There's 4 of them: the Bead Lady, her Candle Bar, Cut at Angle, and Shooby Doo. They're all conducting these workshops, and not only is Explorer Cabarrus promoting it, but of course Downtown Concord. And the last one, and this one is also significant, there's destination training on making your business a community a destination. It's a national program. The guy that does the training has been doing it for 20 plus years. Paige has worked with the North Carolina Main Street Association, and he will be presenting or have a one-day class on September 23rd that'll be free to the businesses. So it's all about how to promote, how to make your business stand out. As you know, small business is already tough. It's extremely competitive, and the guy is nationally known for giving clues and tips on how to make it better. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right, question from council? All right,
Thank you.
thank you for getting that all done as fast as you did. Yeah, you can excel now. Thank you. All right, moving on to Parks and Rec Bond update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Call on Sheila to give this report to council this evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Deason. Tonight, I will provide the update on bond projects for August. Financial information. Nothing has changed until we bid more projects on the financial information. However, in September, we will be requesting council's approval to move $1 million from the Poplar Tent Trailhead Park to Dorton Park. Originally, as a part of the first sale for the bond, Dorton Park Phase 1 was funded and all of Poplar Tent was funded. As the stream restoration along Cottle and the bank erosion increased, we needed to move forward for that project, which was identified in Phase 2 of the project. Now with moving the original Phase 2 of Dorton, the funding was $1.1 million. We are requesting $1 million from Poplar Tent Trailhead to be moved forward to Dorton to fund that project completely. We still have $833,000 in the Poplar Tent Trailhead Park to continue with design and coordination with NCDOT and with Duke Energy for design. And then when we sell the second part of the bond, then we will refund the Poplar Tent. Dorton Park. Construction continues. The picture to the left shows the field, the tennis courts, and the expanded parking prior to today's events. We were at 90% complete on the Afton Run restoration for the stream. Today, with the heavy rain events and the proximity to Cottle Creek, Dorton Park, along with some other parks, did flood today. The contractor was on site monitoring the project and also continuing to work on the restroom building. We will follow up with the contractor to find about any impacts the flooding may have had after the water recedes. We will also take another look at the stream bank along Cottle Creek to look at it prior to, in talking to the consultant McAdams after the water recedes. McAdams has already completed all the design for that portion of Cottle Creek. They are right now in permitting, and we hope to come back to council to move forward with that work soon. Next is another picture of Dorton Park. I did want to let council know that I'm currently working with the HOA president, Mr. Hayes. I plan to provide an update at the next neighborhood meeting once it's scheduled. As soon as that date is known, I'll be back to council to let you know when that update's going to be provided to the Afton neighborhood. Next is Marvin Caldwell Park. The bid packages is almost complete. We plan to bid this within the next 3 weeks. We hope to be back to council in October to seek approval to move forward with this project. On the council agenda this month, we also have 2 other items that are a part of this project, and that is the sports lighting and the playground. Yes, sir. You sure? Jim Ramsor Park, we continue to work on the driveway permit. Once we have that in hand, we can move forward with the final approval through Excella and then begin preparing bid documents for this park. We did have a public meeting on July 17th at the athletic fields, and the park and the comments were very, very positive, and people are very excited for this park when it arrives. Hartselle Park. We continue with design for this. We're planning a public meeting for this fall. We did submit the sewer application for this project, and we are requesting council's approval for allocation in September. Academy Gibson. This project is also on council agenda this month to move forward with the project. Once approved, we will negotiate the contract. The pool closes on August 11th, and then we will be able to give the contractor, once you approve, notice to proceed once the contract's complete. Next is the Academy Gibson Skate Park Pump Track. This is, did I miss one? Yes. Sorry. Can you? While he gets it, next is the skate park pump track. We continue with design for this. It's around 90%. I'm sorry. For the skate park pump track, we are about 60% complete. We have submitted our first submittal to Excella for the pump track. Next is the sculpture garden, and on that one, this is a sculpture, we're at 60%. It's the same consultant who's doing the pump track skate park is doing the sculpture garden. Both projects are at 60% complete. And on this picture, you can see clear water, but you can see the outline for design for the sculpture garden and what the pump track skate park will look like. The athletic fields, they're at 90% complete. The firm Dodd Studios is completing this project. The neighborhood meeting with Academy Gibson Village neighborhood, the presentation was canceled. We are waiting for that to be rescheduled so we can provide an update to the neighborhood on all the Academy Gibson projects. Dave Phillips Park. Design continues on this project. We are planning and have scheduled a public update meeting for August 29th. That will be held at Dave Phillips Activity Center at 6 p.m. We did fill out and apply for sewer for this project, and we are looking for allocation in September. Poplar Tent Trailhead Park, as noted earlier, the request for September for us to move $1 million from this. We continue with the coordination with Duke Energy and with NCDOT. Those coordination meetings are taking a little longer than expected. And we continue because this park is a key connectivity piece for Cottle Creek, or for Hector Henry Greenway at Cannon Crossing and Clark Creek. These are the other 3 projects that are a part of the bond update that we have not started on design yet. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Right, question from council. Go, J.C.
Back to Dorton Park.
Yes, sir.
Take us through the timeline, the start date, the construction, contractual completion dates.
It'll be spring, April of 2025. And our plan is to complete phase 1 and phase 2, with the exception of what NCDOT will require us to do to the driveway once they approve, or the timeline for the widening of Poplar Tent. It could impact our driveway.
And when did we start that construction?
Construction, I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't know the completion date, because we started the contract and then we had to renegotiate based on the movement of the restroom building.
Was the restroom delayed the opening of the entire park?
Yes, sir. When we
How's that?
had the meeting with the consultant and with the contractor and with council, and council wanted to move and expand that restroom, they communicated, which the plan was to be open this October. They said with the movement of that, it would add an additional 4 to 5 months to the project.
Just to finish the restroom?
Yes, to get through all the permitting and all. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I don't think I understood that it was delaying the whole park. I thought it was just the restroom. Whole park. Okay, okay. Thanks, Sheila.
No problem.
I just have one comment. Actually, the question was just answered. When are we going to finish? April 25.
That's our plan, yes, sir.
The other comment I have, and I live there, obviously, and watched this flood I haven't seen flood this bad, by the way, just because of the amount of rain we've had. I'm not seeing, my gauge said 5.5+ inches of rain. Never seen that before either. So I will say this positive thing. The restoration of the banks, at least on the Cottle side anyway, we haven't done anything on the other side, have we? No. Yeah, but that'll help out as well.
Yes, sir.
It's receding quicker, and the stream is moving quicker. So that was a good thing. So
I
folks will
appreciate
just,
that.
they'll figure it out, and it'll be a good thing when it's all said and done, so.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
More questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next we're going to move to persons' recognitions of persons requesting to be heard. This portion of our meeting is our time to recognize persons requesting to be heard and provide an opportunity for anyone wishing to address the city council to do so. Each person will receive 3 minutes to address the council. This is time for listening for the council. The subject will be noted, and if it requires action or request, the city manager will note of such and provide steps for any required response or action. Please leave your contact information with the city clerk to facilitate communications. Right now, I have 6 individuals signed up, and we will go ahead and start. First, is it Larry Shilly? Thank you, Larry. Come on up. Yes, sir. Yes. I think you have my handwriting.
Oh, my handwriting's terrible. I was meant to be a
That's what I'm
lawyer or a
saying.
doctor. Ain't no chance I was gonna do anything else.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, Ms. City Attorney, members of council. My name is Larry Shaheen. I'm an attorney at the McIntosh Law Firm. My address is 209 Delbert Street, Davidson, North Carolina, 28036. I'm here tonight on behalf of Stanley Martin Homes and their development at Roycroft. I know I've had the opportunity to speak with some of you. Look forward to speaking with more of you. Bob Bennett, who you all may see, comes to literally everything at this point, and he's excited to do so because Stanley Martin's excited to be a part of this community. Just so you all know, they have submitted again for their sewer capacity request, and as this last time, they phased the project. They have requesting allocation for 50 home sites, and inside those 50 home sites, which are going to be workforce housing focused, there is an affordability portion to this project that we wanted to make sure that Stanley Martin did, and Stanley Martin committed to it. So there's 50 home sites, and they're going to start being at the affordable workforce housing price. It's that most affordable product right up front. Secondarily, one of the things that phasing plan allows them to do is to be able to turn in their Homes for Heroes program and get that running the minute they have their sewer capacity. So let me walk through that Homes for Heroes program with you so that you understand what that does. It is a $10,000 direct discount off options or pricing for any of the following current or retired individuals: firefighters, EMS, law enforcement, military personnel, healthcare professionals, and school teachers. They are very excited about that program. That is a national program, and they are very honored to be able to bring that here to Concord and be able to provide that to y'all here upon allocation of the sewer capacity. And then lastly, and probably more importantly, is the economic development impacts that are part of this project. Stanley Martin has already committed to allocating land necessary for a fire station, but they have also added an additional economic development component that they also added in their last project, which is a land piece that you all can decide what to do with as you wish. There has been discussion of a library or some other form of economic development opportunity, but if you will go to their website and look at Stanley Martin, you'll notice that they're just like our firm. They're focused on community. They want to give back. Their plan is to develop fully this site, which is over 300 home sites, and they want to continue to do it in phases to make sure that they honor the necessary impacts that you all have on sewer capacity. So ultimately, this is going to be a long-time community partner and someone who really wants to be here in the town of Concord. So with that, I appreciate y'all's time. I don't need to take any more of it, Mr. Mayor. You see enough of me, and I appreciate y'all very much. Please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions or concerns, and we will see you again here very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Zach Allman?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We appreciate you guys having us today. I'm Zach Allman, also from the McIntosh Law Firm, here tonight representing Skybrook. Scott from the Skybrook HOA is going to be following me tonight, and I'm anxious for you guys to see the recent drone photos that we had. I think these images I think they're going to add a lot to what we're trying to present. Councilmember Clay made a great point earlier. She asked me what was something that was unique about this project, and something that's unique about this project is it's not a fully new project. We're asking for the allotment for the remaining 19 townhomes. And I think that you will find within those drone images that it looks a bit awkward. And it looks a bit incomplete. So tonight we're asking you guys for sewer allotment for those last remaining 19 townhomes, and you'll be hearing from Scott from the Skybrook HOA. So thank you again for your time, and please feel free to contact me with any questions.
Thank you very much. Scott Moore?
Good evening. My name is Scott Moore. I'm the Skybrook Corners HOA President, 830 Skybrook Drive, Huntersville, North Carolina. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm taking a different approach and a different side from where Zach is coming from. I want to just first thank you for the opportunity, but I'm here this evening in support of the sewer request for Skybrook LLC on behalf of all the residents, and that's the picture that you see up here with all the communities. And the area in red is the area that I'm actually coming here and speaking directly for. We would request the City Council allocate sewer for the final phase of the remaining 19 townhome lots at the upcoming September 24th sewer allocation meeting. As you all know, the original 52 lots, which is shown there on the bottom corner, have been completed in construction with homes being closed by residents who I represent or are under contract to close this summer. Skybrook has been just an immense success and one of the best places to live here in the community. So on behalf of all the HOA and all the residents of Skybrook, We request the last phase of development be completed as soon as possible. Many of these residents and the surrounding Parkside at Skybrook North residents have lived with construction on site for over 2 years, and they would like the community completed as opposed to waiting for the project to finalize. Now, the community would prefer that the council prioritize the construction of these townhomes to help finalize the community and bring it to a close. So I come before you tonight to request this allocation for all the residents who are directly impacted and who are seeking completion of their community. I want to thank you for this time and for your upcoming consideration. Thank you.
Sir, can I have,
Yes.
can I have a contact, phone or address?
Sure, for me?
Yes.
Yes, I'll go ahead and give you my telephone number. It's 704-995-2507.
Thank you.
Right here, so. Have a good evening.
You too. Veronica Hall. Welcome.
Thank you.
And what is your address?
691 Harrison Drive Northwest.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's my very first town hall meeting, so this is all new for me. And I'm the Social Committee Chairperson for the Laurel Park Subdivision, and I'm here as the voice of the community. So I know you have been receiving a couple of complaints. In Laurel Park, we actually, since COVID, our development has been sort of spread out. People have not been harmonious like they used to be, so we have been doing things to bring the community together. I have been a resident of Laurel Park for 9 years, and I've been the Social Committee Chairwoman for 3 years. We have done all kinds of things to bring the community together, and we're excited about it. We have a Food Truck Friday every Friday from Mother's Day weekend until the first week of school, that the kids go back. These are things that we do in addition to holiday events, different things to bring the community together. Apparently, there's some people who are not very happy about Food Truck Friday, National Night Out, and they're making a big deal about it. National Night Out is a national event nationwide, and we're getting complaints like this complaint. Laurel Park is a private homeowners association in Concord, North Carolina, who are named individuals overseeing a legal counsel representative board. I don't know what this means, okay. We are individuals attempting to recognize and establish National Night Out event called National Night Out. Everybody knows what National Night Out is. It's easy to Google if you don't know. So they're saying that they're posting signs soliciting individuals who do not own, lease, sell property in Laurel Park, but promoting a surveillance mentality, a crowding liability for property owner damages with mortgages at risk. I don't know what that means. The police support National Night Out. Fire department comes, the community is excited about it. We get to come out, learn who our neighbors are, support each other, but it seems like everything we're doing within the last year, these two, maybe one or two neighbors who, I heard one doesn't even live in our community, but has a family member that does, is complaining. They're saying that we're taking food out of local residents' mouths, or people are not going to those businesses. Most of you know Papa Rob. He's one of the people that live in our community. He also is a vendor at Food Truck Friday, and he is not very happy about the complaints that we're receiving for Food Truck Friday. He lives a couple of feet from Laurel Park, and he wants to know why one person or two people could make a complaint, an ordinance, and shut it down. So in closing, that's my 3 minutes, I guess. There's an ordinance I'd like you to look at. It's a Concord Development Ordinance, which I read it over with a fine-tooth comb, that says we are absolutely in compliance. I'll be back next month, but I'd appreciate if someone looked that over.
Okay. Thank you very much. Al Benshoff. Welcome, Al.
Thank you, Mayor.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, Madam Attorney, Mr. Manager, Madam Clerk. I am a member of the Bro Law Firm. My address is 221 Ravine Circle Southeast, Concord, North Carolina. Tonight, I represent C.F. Smith Properties. C.F. Smith has a sewer allocation I'd like to talk to you about. C.F. Smith requests 4,515 gallons per day to support 7 businesses on 5.2 acres on Concord Parkway. This is the property of the Barnhart Family Trust. I'll get to the picture in a minute when I talk about circulation. The property is between the parkway and apartments, and it's likely to be developed as retail. Eventually, it's not big enough to do many other uses with, and being on a major road, it probably won't be residential. Let me tell you about the statistics. The proposal will create 136 jobs. That's $18 million in tax base, which is approximately $84,600 of city property tax revenue per year. That does not include the sales tax that the city will get. Traffic is always an issue here and everywhere in North Carolina. In this case, there's some unique attributes about this property. This is 29. There will be a road parallel to 29 here, connecting to 29 here and here, that will eventually go to Pitt School Road through the new mixed-use development behind the Evolve Apartments. And I believe that's a flood warning. This is the 4th request that C.F. Smith has made for this property. They've changed the mix of businesses over time. They've taken out a car wash because it used a lot of water. Smith wants you to know that they can't hold the tenants that they have forever. As the 4th request, they're really pretty nervous that they can pull this project off if they don't get the sewer allocation. This is a relatively high return for the city. If my math is right, it's 1 job for every 29 gallons per day, or $3,900 of tax base for every 1 gallon per day allocated. And that's all I want to say about that. I do want to say very quickly that I knew Sam Leader, and I want to thank you for honoring his family tonight.
Thank you, Al. John Parker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to stay seated if that's okay.
Okay. I have no one else signed up for. Does anyone like to speak tonight? All right. Thank you very much for everybody coming on that. We're going to move forward to our public hearings. Number 1, conduct a public hearing to consider adopting resolution closing a portion of Evans Drive Northwest. Is there a motion? All in favor, raise your hand. All right. Public hearing is open. I have no one signing up for or against. Is there anyone like to speak in regards to this item? There is no one to speak. Therefore, back to City Council for motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion and second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Back to council for considering a resolution and manner of closing the portion of Evans Drive.
Mayor, I move we close this portion of Evans Street right away.
I'll second that.
All right, got a motion and second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Public hearing number 2, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting an ordinance annexing 5.8 acres of Zion Church Road area. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? Got a motion and a second. Ready to vote? All in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you very much. I have one individual like to speak, Kelly Sifford from the county. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor, Council, Ms. Kaczynski. Who else am I?
Yes.
Ms. Deason, of course, Mr. Payne. So I don't want to take any of your time tonight. I just wanted to be here to answer any questions. We are not requesting sewer allocation at this time because we are so far out from any time that we would construct this. I don't want to use something that other people obviously are very interested in getting. So I am here if you have any questions. Other than that, I will let you move on with your meeting.
So what is your time?
It's not even in our CIP yet, so I'm thinking 5 to 10 years, probably closer to the 10-year mark.
Right. Any other questions?
That is currently the plan. We wanted to land bank because this type of property is very difficult to find, and this was an ideal site for that. And, you know, centrally located, obviously, the greatest bulk of our animals come from the two cities. So we wanted somewhere very central for our officers, so that was kind of the goal. So at this time. Eventually, yes. No. Replacement. We're a bit overcrowded now, but priority-wise, it's not the highest priority with all the school needs and other needs that we have at this time.
Anything?
Mayor, I move we adopt the annexation ordinance.
Wait, let's,
I thought we're not done?
thank you very, very much.
Thought we were.
Now, is there a
Oh, in a
motion
public
to,
hearing, I'm sorry.
motion to close the public hearing?
Oh, I move we close the public hearing.
Is there a second? Second. All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, now back to council for a recommendation.
Now I move we adopt the annexation. So.
Motion is second. Ready to vote, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kelly. All right, number 3, conduct a public hearing, consider approving an ordinance adopting the boulevards of Concord. Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
A motion is second. Ready to vote, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Welcome
Thank you, sir.
again.
Mayor, members, council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Deason, it's a privilege to present the Boulevards plan to you tonight. The time frame that we presented to you roughly a year ago, we're dead on schedule. We said we'd be done in August 24th. We're here. You've heard many of you heard me say to me, this is probably the most important plan I think we've done. They're all important, but this one, the significance of the area and what it means for Concord, the values of the property prior to the last evaluation, because we don't know those new numbers yet, because some are still being contested, was north of $1.3 billion, represents a significant amount of our sales tax base. And the goal of this plan is to take a good area and continue to make it better. So with that, I just want to briefly acknowledge those that have participated. From city staff, Kaylee Caden. Kaylee led this process and just did a fantastic job. Kevin Ashley from planning, Gerald Warren from planning, Kaylee Malins from planning, George Berger from Parks and Rec, Andy Christie from transit, Jamie Williams from transportation. Our implementation partners were NCDOT, City of Charlotte, Town of Harrisburg, Cabarrus County, and the Cabarrus-Rowan MPO. Because of where this sits, we have neighbors. What they do impacts our area and vice versa. So we're very diligent to reach out to them. And the main shout out that I want to have is to the Business Steering Committee. It's just an outstanding committee, many of which are here tonight. Greg Walter from Charlotte Motor Speedway, Roberta Medina from Hendrick Motorsports, both Greg and Roberta are here. Angela Brown, Great Wolf Lodge, Donna Carpenter, CBB, and Donna was gracious enough to host the meetings. Our own Terry Crawford, and of course Terry wears 3 hats, not only is a city councilman, but he knows the district so well because of his past life as the manager at Embassy Suites, and then also board member and president of the Visitors Bureau. So Terry's input was instrumental, and Doug Stafford. And last with that, I want to introduce Andrew Babb from Bolton and Mink, who are consultants on this project. And let me add that one of the neighborhoods that Ian talked to you about that may be on the island is where Andrew lives, and we told him that staff could do his presentation, but he made it. So it's a big shout out to him coming, and hopefully he can get back in his neighborhood after this. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Steve. Mayor, Council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kluczynski, and Ms. Deason. Steve said, I'm Andrew Babb, working with Bolton and Mank as a consultant project manager on the boulevards for over a year, and I'm really excited to present what we've come up with for this. I want to do this presentation in three kind of large steps. So one is to talk about what the project was and the engagement that we went through, which is really the story of the process of how we came to the plan. Spend a little time talking about the ultimate vision for the corridor that we developed through that engagement, and then we take that vision, we break it down into specific plan recommendations. So with that, and some of this will be a repeat of presentation I gave in March, but just to refresh everybody's memory and make sure that we're all on the same page. This shows the rough geographic area that we were focused on studying. This is the exit 49 area from Concord Mills all the way out to Cox Mill Road. Includes the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Hendrick campus, and the clusters of hundreds of hotels, thousands of apartments in the southern edge of the city of Concord. I come to you today at the very end of an over 1 year process where we've engaged with a number of different groups, done a number of different studies, prepared a number of different documents for this effort. I'm not going to go through the schedule in great detail, but just want to emphasize that this has really been a large effort that's involved a lot of different people. And who have those people been? Our engagement has really focused on 4 primary groups. One group is the public. We did 2 rounds of public meetings. We did those both in person on the corridor, and we had virtual options following those open houses. We also did a 3-week public review period where the plan documents were available online for anybody to review and provide comments on. As Steve mentioned, we also did a lot of work closely with the Corridor Business Committee, which is very similar to the Exit 49 Committee, includes representatives from Concord Mills, from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, a number of the other hotels and other businesses in the area, and Councilmember Crawford. We also have worked with y'all. Near the beginning of the process, we met and did a series of listening sessions with City Council. In March, I was here to give a project update, and today we're speaking to you to work towards adoption. And then one last group I'll mention is what we called our implementation partners. Steve mentioned we worked with overlapping and adjacent jurisdictions like the county, like the city of Charlotte, and other implementation organizations like NCDOT and the Cabarrus-Rowan MPO to make sure that we were all on the same page and that nothing we were putting in our plans was going to conflict with any of our neighbors or our partners' plans as well. We engaged with those groups and worked through this process in 3 large steps. The first step was an inventory and establishing a community-led vision. So we did a lot of research into the area, what exists. We did some market analysis, understanding of the infrastructure that's out there, and we did our first round of engagement with the public, with the business committee, and that work really culminated in the inventory document. There's 2 documents to this plan. From there, with that vision, we moved into the development of our action plan. We came back to the public and showed them the ideas that we had and asked them to let us know if they thought those were appropriate and important and the right recommendations for the area. We did the same with our business committee. We presented them to our implementation partners in small groups so we could get feedback from all of them. And we presented an update to planning and zoning. Now we're in the 3rd and final phase, which is the public review and adoption. We did our public review period where the public could look at our documents and provide any feedback. We made sure that our business committee was on board with everything as we had written it. We gave a presentation to those implementation partners. We presented it to planning and zoning last month, and we're here today to talk about adoption. So I want to walk through this process and what we heard from these different groups. So last fall, we did, like I said, 1 in-person open house, and we had a virtual opportunity for a couple of weeks following that meeting for people to provide feedback. Through these combined, we got about 250 people participated. The majority of those were virtual. The graph on the left shows question we asked was just what is each person's relationship to the corridor. The overwhelming majority of people who participated in our surveys either live in the area and or they come into the area to shop. This is a choose all that apply type question, but just to understand who we were able to speak to through this. On the right, one of our activities, we put up over 20 different images of things that could come into the area, from art to monumentation to signage to street improvements, and asked people to indicate which ones they wanted to see in this area. And these are the 4 that got the most feedback. So we have wide sidewalks and trees, pocket parks, night lighting, and really roadway landscaping. We took from this was a real desire to improve the look and feel of the area and to provide opportunities and places for people to kind of be, right? To meet friends, to be out in the street, You know, today it's very much you drive up to one business, you walk into that business, you get back in your car and you drive to the next place. But we got a sense that people were looking for more of a community space in this area. We also asked a series of questions with a little bit more context than I'm showing here, where we asked people about trade-offs. So we asked people, do you think the road, the area should be more towards the utilitarian or more towards the beautiful? No surprise, it's a little bit like asking a kid if they want to eat, broccoli or chocolate for dinner, but people overwhelmingly wanted to see beautification in the area. And I think that's important because it was one of the first things the business committee said to us was they had a desire to have more beautiful streets, more beautiful interchange. And so we were glad to see the public was kind of on the same page with them. The next two questions are kind of interesting. We asked about whether this area should be focused on automobile use, right? People driving from place to place, or on walking, biking, and transit. And the community leaned towards automobile use, right? Most people are still expecting to drive into and out of and around this area. However, we asked another question, which was, should the corridor be more of a thoroughfare, right? Really focus on moving cars quickly up and down the strip, or should it be more of a place where you can be and walk and sit? And overall, the community leaned towards that place. Automobile use and creating a place are generally in tension with each other. We think about places, we think about low vehicular speeds, low vehicular volumes. And so the challenge for a lot of this plan is how to serve both of those needs, how to maintain the ability for people to drive in and around this area, but also to create places where people enjoy being. We also did a series of map activities, both in person and online. What's in the background there is the map that we left the in-person meeting with. A couple of major things came out of this. People are, of course, concerned about traffic on this corridor. There were a lot of comments about specific intersections and the congestion that's experienced there. There were a number of people who called out a desire for more roadway connections. Today, to move from business to business, you very often have to go out onto the boulevard and navigate that street to get to somewhere that might be really nearby, and there was a desire to have more direct connections. There's also a lot of people interested in expanding the Greenway or the sidewalk network, talking about expanding the Hector Henry Greenway, which is on the east side of 85. There were some specific comments put on Weddington Road. People have very different visions for that corridor. People gave us some strong opinions. Also, our group noted that Quay and Old Holland Roads to the south of the interchange line up, and there was some interest in creating a connection between those two roads. And we'll talk about that because that is included as a recommendation. So with all of this information gathered from all of these different groups, we developed 3 guiding principles for the plan. And these guiding principles really inform all of the recommendations that will come after this and how the whole plan is structured. So those are in no particular order. One is to improve the look and feel of the corridor and create a unique sense of place. One thing I didn't say on the last slide that I should have is, as we were talking to people at the in-person, there was a real sense that that corridor doesn't have a strong sense of identity. Some people didn't realize that it was in the city of Concord itself and thought they were still in Charlotte. Some people just didn't know what to call the area. And so we think that creating a unique sense of place for that area could be really powerful in attracting people to it. Another guiding principle is to create inviting and safe spaces to gather. That's something that we saw the public really looking for, is just places to meet and really an access to nature. There's a lot of green spaces nearby, but there's very little access to them. And then our third guiding principle is to provide safe and efficient walking and biking routes, but while preserving vehicular mobility. So we want to find ways to make it possible to walk and bike in the area, but we don't want to do is take away the ability that people currently enjoy to drive into, out of, and around the area. So with these guiding principles, we started to establish what this could look like for the corridor in our area vision. So this is an aerial image of Concord Mills Boulevard and Thunder Road. So Concord Mills is the large road at the bottom of the screen. The mall is just off the bottom of the screen. If you continued up Thunder off the top of the screen, you'd get to the Walmart and the Bexley Square Apartments. This is what it looks like today. With some of those guiding principles, we developed a series of alternatives that could make it look a little bit different, and I'll walk through what's different in this image. So we've done a few improvements to create really a network of bicycle and pedestrian paths. There are sidewalks on some of these streets, but they struggle to provide full connectivity from where you are to where you want to be. So a couple of improvements within that to make this really a full network. That would include potentially a sidewalk on the boulevard itself. Because that's a high-speed roadway, it probably needs to be a wider sidewalk for comfort and for safety in the area. Once that sidewalk's in place, actually skipped one, this also includes a number of street trees and other on-street improvements. In this particular location, we've shown on-street art and on-street parking to kind of visually narrow the roadway, make it a more comfortable place to be without taking away space needed for trucks that are navigating the intersection. Also with that wider sidewalk on the boulevards, looking at connections directly from the businesses to this broader network. From here, I want to drop in and see what this would look like as, a person who is on the street. So if you look at the bottom left corner of the intersection of Thunder and Pit Stop, this is the look from there. So the mall is behind you, the Walmart is in front of you. If you continue to the left, there's a dead end. Obviously, the Crafty Crab is in front of you. With the improvements, we think this area could look something like this. So we can see the expanded use of street trees to create shade, to create a more pedestrian-friendly environment. We have lighting to make it so that you could walk in the area at night safely, potentially in the future. We've added benches and other amenities so that this is a place not just to walk through, but to be and to exist. We've added marked crosswalks at these intersections so that pedestrians know where they should be and so that drivers are aware of where pedestrians are going to be. You can also see the potential idea of street art out here and the extension of the on-street parking throughout this. So that's an area that's already developed, but what about an area that's not yet developed? This is a property owned by the Charlotte Motor Speedway, directly across from the ZMAX dragway that's largely used for parking on event days. But in the future, it could be developed and it could look something like this. This image includes a bus lane that is currently being kind of advanced through NCDOT. It includes a wide walkway behind a row of street trees on the boulevard. But I think most importantly, it includes a series of buildings that are oriented towards each other and that are oriented towards the secondary roadway. So those buildings would not have their front door on the boulevard, they would have their front door on the street that is behind the boulevard so that that can be a pleasant and enjoyable place to walk and to be, while the boulevard itself is still able to move cars efficiently up and down the corridor. We took that vision, that idea, and we spread it out into a series of recommendations. And we're going to walk through each of these categories in a little bit, but I wanted to show this map just to show that we've thought about how these could be applied across the entire corridor and how they could fit in different contexts up and down the study area. Once we had those ideas, those recommendation ideas, we took them back to the public this past spring. And what we did is we asked people to rate each of these 6 categories from very appropriate and important to not appropriate or important. And what we heard broadly from the community was that they were in support of most of these recommendations, with all of them getting more than 50% of that very appropriate and important or somewhat appropriate and important, with one exception, which is a realignment of the red route. And I'll talk about that a little bit when we walk through the recommendations. However, I do think it's important to note that because most people who participated are residents and that recommendation is really oriented towards visitors and the businesses, that it makes sense that they might not be as enthused about that. It also is going to require a number of other improvements before that realignment is done for it to really make sense as an overall system. Once we've taken this, we developed our full implementation plan and we put that out for public review. It was available for 3 weeks in June and July. We had over 800 views on the link. We had 62 comments on our 2 documents. Some major themes included some people were either very, very excited or very concerned about adding pedestrian infrastructure, sidewalks and trails onto the boulevards, either because they were really excited at the opportunity to walk and not have to drive everywhere, or they were nervous about people being near high-speed vehicles. We had a lot of people who just came in and talked about how they're still very worried about traffic on the corridor. And then we did get a large subset of responses that were specifically from people who live in the Christenberry Hall neighborhood. On our maps, we'd shown the city's already adopted open space connectivity plan Greenway network, and they were concerned about the Greenway running behind their neighborhood. So based on these comments, we made a couple of small changes. We did change our text a little bit to make very clear that the Greenway network that's shown in the plan is the city's already adopted open space connectivity plan, and that any specific design details related to where the Greenway is or is not and access to and from it would be determined at a later date as part of final design with additional engagement, just to clarify those things. So with all of that, I'd love to walk through the specific recommendations as we've included them in the plan. So we've broken these into 4 categories. I think short-term, mid-term, and long-term probably make intuitive sense, but I want to talk about that cornerstones category at the top. Cornerstones are really additional improvements that should be done in the short term, but that are really foundational to everything else. Almost all the other recommendations are built on one of those cornerstones, and those just really need to be in place before a lot of the other recommendations are going to make sense. I'll walk through each of these. In each of these categories, we have 3 recommendations. So the first piece of the cornerstones is probably the biggest move in the plan. And so this is a recommendation to establish a municipal service district for the boulevards. So this would be a new area that would be an additional property tax that would be raised, and that money would have to be spent within the same area that it is collected within. That's something that the city would enact and would manage into the future. I'll admit that when I proposed this at first to the business committee, I was nervous, but they've all been very supportive of this idea. And this is something that really you could raise money to do additional planning, to match other grant funds, to build some of the improvements in the area that really are above and beyond the level of services that are needed in other parts of the city. We've got some numbers there. These are based on before the recent revaluation. Some of those property values are still contested, but based on pre-revaluation numbers, 1 cent per $100 valuation could generate around $136,000 a year. That's using all of the properties within our study area that are within the city limits for City of Concord. We looked at some peer organizations like this and found that a lot of them had rates between 3 and 5 cents per $100. So that's why that 5 cent per $100 number is also there, just for context and for comparison. With an MSD, another major cornerstone would be to adopt a form-based overlay code. So this would be a new component to the city's development ordinance. And this could focus on a lot of things, but we think the 3 things it should focus the most on are 1, guiding building positions and where the massing is allocated towards central locations on secondary roadways. So basically moving buildings towards each other so it's easier to walk from one place to another, so it's more a pleasant experience on the street. Not to push buildings towards the boulevard itself, that needs to continue to be kind of a vehicular focused road, but to have buildings kind of central on other areas. Another thing we think is important in this code would be cross-development access. So people complained about not being able to get to a business they could see without going out and making 3 right turns, or not even being able to walk from one business to another. So to add some requirements to require automotive connections, or if not, at least bicycle or pedestrian connections between different developments to make it easier to move around without having to go onto the boulevard. And then 1/3 kind of focus category would be parking locations, encouraging parking to be behind buildings, considering sizes, and really thinking as the next wave of development comes in, as potentially mixed use opportunities come up, thinking about how to create opportunities for shared parking so you can reduce the total amount of parking needed for an area. The final cornerstone we have here is to really create an area identity and branding. We're big fans of the name of the boulevards because we developed it, but we are not branding experts, and we not speak to every business owner in the corridor. So I think the area really needs to come together to identify what they want their name to be and what they want their identity to be. And I think it's really important to think about how that can be applied in the future. This image in the bottom right is an example from a similar organization outside of Atlanta, and they have a 100-page document that details how their logo and their branding should be used on street signs, on banners, on street lights, on advertising posters on social media, and it really makes that area feel coherent as a single area. So that's something that we think is just foundational to creating the identity for the area and helping the MSD kind of move forward from there. With those 3 things in place, we can move into some of our short-term recommendations. One of the biggest challenges on the corridor is that while there are sidewalks on a lot of specific areas, they don't always connect to each other. There's not a complete network. So identifying some specific places where there are small gaps in the pedestrian network, which could be a piece of sidewalk that's missing, or it could be a marked crosswalk that's missing. It could be a signal that does not have pedestrian signal heads, and filling in those gaps to really create the possibility to walk from place to place. Another recommendation is to go through the entire study area and develop really a plan for all of the streets in the area. So we had some illustrative ideas of what could be done on Thunder and Pit Stop earlier, but to go through and think in more detail about what could be done on the boulevard, what would be done on secondary streets, what would be done even on small tertiary streets to create that more pleasant pedestrian experience. And then the third piece in the short term, to really start to instill that identity in the area, to put in some specific beautification elements and some gateways. This area is really interesting in that it could serve not only as a gateway into the city of Concord, but also into Cabarrus County and also into the boulevards area all at once. So there's a lot of opportunities to create kind of that sense of entry and that sense of arrival as you come into the area. And this can be a relatively low cost, easy to implement way to give an area that sense of identity for people. Moving from there, we can go into the midterm. Now that we have a plan for all those different street improvements, we could move towards building those different street improvements. This will probably be a phased approach, prioritized, but to start to expand from those small improvements that create a network to really flesh that out to a full environment change. Another idea here, this is really borrowed from the Cabarrus County Long Range Public Transportation Master Plan, but is to split what is currently the red route into two different services. So today, the red route comes down from the transit hub down 85, serves the west side of the boulevard, serves the east side of the boulevard, and then goes back north on 85 to the transit hub. And what that means is if you're in one of the hotels on the east side of 85 and you want to go to a restaurant on the west side of 85, and you want to take the bus, you have to ride all the way to Kannapolis and all the way back to get there. And it's not an effective service for people who want to make that short trip. So one of the ideas in their plan that we've included here is to split that into two services. One of those would be a circulator that's shown on the corridor that would just serve the corridor, would go east to west, back and forth, and then to have a second separate service that would connect this red route up to the transit hub for people who are making those broader connections. Then another recommendation here would be to, or a big part of our recommendations is to expand the Greenway network. And so a step that could be taken in the midterm would be to start to build the western side of this. We'll talk about the connections under 85 in a second, but to lay the groundwork to create an east-west corridor for people who are walking or biking north of Concord Mills Boulevard today, start with the segments of Greenway that are on the west side that are relatively, comparatively easy to implement. From there, if we move into long-term, we'll talk about that piece under 85. So to really connect the east side and the west side, this could be a really substantial change for the area to have this connection. So you could go from the hotels, get on a bike that the hotels rented you and ride it over to the west side to go out to eat. You might look at this map and think the I-85 is the biggest challenge in this area, but that's actually not the case. The way that that bridge is built, there's potentially room for this Greenway to go under. The biggest challenge is you're near the end of the airport runway and you're in FAA's designated runway protection zone. There are examples in other places where greenways have been built in these areas, but it's probably going to take a little bit of negotiation with FAA to figure out exactly how we could lay this up so that they'll be comfortable with it at the end of the day. Another really big move that we've included here is to connect Quay and Old Holland roads. These two roads used to run across this area before I-85 came through and severed them, but they are still a state-owned right-of-way that lines up perfectly on either side of I-85. And so there's an opportunity here to build a bridge to connect these two roads to each other. This would create another way to move east to west in the area without having to go through the interchange itself, potentially providing a lot of traffic relief and certainly a lot of reliability to the area. This bridge would also, again, be at the gateway to the city and to the county and to this area and would really serve as an opportunity to create a landmark gateway into any or all of those areas. We think that that's something that should be considered here as well. From there, our plan also includes a number of longer-term additional studies looking at ITS, which is Intelligent Transportation Systems, to improve traffic movement on the corridor, especially around the interchange, a more detailed traffic and safety study, and potentially in the future to even look at economic development and market feasibility studies for different properties in the area. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Question from the council.
I have one or two or three, maybe.
Okay.
Number one.
If adopted, when do you expect the first, the cornerstone piece to be implemented? When will that start?
Yeah, so that would ultimately be at the grace of council. I think the foundational piece is probably that MSD. The MSD will require a little bit more legwork before it can be implemented. Typically, staff needs to go out and identify exactly which areas are going to be included in that and prepare a certain report that has to be presented to council and accepted by council. And those areas cannot start collecting revenue until the beginning of the next fiscal year. So even if all of that were to happen very quickly, that would not come into effect until around this time next year.
And Lloyd, this may be a question for you. Will this be phased into the budget over a period of, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think so, Councilmember. And again, I think that's the correct terminology as a cornerstone. There's a lot of ideas and projects on here. And, as council knows, we don't have those funds laying around. So without the approval of MSD or a funding source, a lot of these things just simply aren't possible without reprioritizing items in our budget now. So to your question, yes, it would have to be phased in. Again, that first phase is to create a revenue source for these projects, and then from there, prioritization of those short-term, mid-term, long-term goals in conjunction with the business community and affected folks out in the MSD.
Okay. And my last question, I guess to you, Steve, what's your plan of communication? Because this sounds familiar to something what we're going through right now, okay? So what's your communication plan to keep the stakeholders informed and up to date as this project or this plan unfolds?
Yeah, and I'll let anybody else jump in if they want to. One of the things, though, I think that's really interesting about this corridor is that it's almost entirely businesses. There's very few residents in the area. And actually speaking to other folks who were involved in the South Park MSD in Charlotte, that was their number one concern was, do you have owner-occupied housing in the area? Because that creates challenges. I will say that the CVB has done a great job connecting us with some of the large businesses in the area, and they work really well together. And I think you can continue to work with that group. Also, once an MSD exists, it is typical, and not required, but typical for City Council to appoint a board that largely administers that. City Council is still the ultimate authority for the MSD, but then that board would also, hopefully be people from that area who could contribute to any kind of a communication plan. But
No, Andrew nailed it. That was a very good explanation. First is to plan adoption, and then from there, we start working on the strategies and chipping away at them. And as Andrew said, it'll take time. There'll be some interesting discussions, especially with the MSD. So we'll start working at that. But Andrew's explanation was very good. Having all businesses is a huge asset where you do not have residential to do something like that. And having the leadership within this corridor that's already there is instrumental. I can't stress that enough. It's already in place.
Bill, I have just a question.
Well,
Sorry.
Valerie had one.
I just want to make sure, I think it's important to point out that in the event you do adopt this plan this evening, it's just a guideline. It's not, you're not committing to do anything. So this is a guideline to guide your vision going forward about what projects you pick, what you fund, what gets it into the CIP, and council drives all of that. But adopting the plan itself is not a commitment to do anything.
And to support that, if I may, I've been involved with this now for, 18 years, almost 18 years when I first moved to town, so to speak. And we had our first meeting at my hotel, in fact, about this back in 2007. And the key here is, and I was speaking to Greg earlier tonight, we have had ad hoc plans that we've kind of put together as a group, and a lot of it being led by the track, of course, by CMI. This is the first one, and I think we got our money's worth here, big time, in fact. Thank you for doing this, and the city we should be thanking you for making this happen. We got our money's worth. I think we have, like you said, a plan that can be as a guide, which also can be changed, obviously, as time goes on. The number one thing, as Greg and I supported, was we've had ideas, we've had many ideas, is how do you pay for it? That's the number one thing. None of this will ever happen again if we cannot pay for it. So the MSD is critical, which is obviously the first step beyond adopting this, I think, in my opinion. But if that were in place and we can get that going over the next year and a half or two, whatever that looks like, reality might set in on this, and it's just an amazing corridor. We cannot let it turn into a junk. We can't let the number one exit in the state of North Carolina on tax-producing revenue allow it to go the other direction. And it could go that way if we don't do something about it. And that's been the statements that have been made for years and years and years. So that's just my 2 cents. But the MSD is critical. And we made the decision that, correct me if I'm wrong, that was the direction we set from the committee standpoint to go in. There are other ways to do this, but that's the one that made more sense, I think. So.
Okay, JC?
Too. So let me go into the weeds on what y'all talking about. We're talking about the MSD financing all of this that we've just seen? And if so, are you talking about the MSD servicing debt to do all this? Because even if you got a 20-cent MSD, you're not gonna do it in our lifetime. So what are we saying here? I'm in the weeds, I understand that.
yeah, so I think in this room, we know that $600,000 a year is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money either. The real power in my mind of the MSD is that's local funds you can leverage, other grants. You can go to DOT and say, hey, we're willing to put 20% in if you'll come 2 years earlier to do this. You have that vision in place, and that opens up a lot of federal grant opportunities too. And potentially, not all MSDs do this, but a lot will hire someone full-time, and that person's full-time job is to be a cheerleader for the area, to go recruit businesses, to go identify funds, to go do things like that. And that really can be a game changer, to have someone whose sole job is to think about this area and help, make it a better place.
Second question, completely different. On the stretch up towards the track, we've been working on one of those 80/20s with DOT for years now. Is the current cross-section show that tree separating? I thought it was sidewalk right up on Bruton Smith, or is do you follow what I'm asking?
Yeah. Philip knows this better than I.
Yeah.
Up there.
I don't want to dip too deep there. Is the plan we've got with DOT supporting what they just showed us?
It doesn't include the landscaping component of it. It does have the sidewalk set back far enough so that the bus lane can be put in, and so that's always been a design consideration from the beginning. Whether that could be afforded in the project, in today's project or later, the hydraulics and everything, we've designed where the ditches are to push the sidewalk back far enough for that, so.
I'm shooting for that one within my lifetime.
But that 600,000, if you do a 10 cap, it's probably more like 12 these days. That's going to support $6 million a year annualized, and that'll grow as time goes on, as it doubles every year, and it should. So in the first 5 years, which is what we were talking about, the first pillar being obviously getting things accomplished, we probably can get some things done, I would think, using that money. And if we can get some grants and some issues going on that an MSD will allow us to do, could even build on top of that. And yes, we can secure debt as an MSD. Am I correct in that? That's what I thought.
So ultimately, I had to do some research. That came up in one of our business committee meetings, and I had to go back and do some research. Ultimately, the financial institution and the signing authority still rest within the city. So
Okay.
basically, anything that the city can do, the MSD
But we could
can
do it through the city like we've done some other projects and other things. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, you take the funds generated from the MSD to service that, but the city is actually comes off of our debt service, which that's not an issue.
Yeah, like we've done for some other projects. Yeah.
That's correct.
And that would multiply as years go on, and obviously there's that little cap money built, so it's good.
Other questions? Andy?
I'll just say, I'm impressed.
Well, thank you very much.
I think this has tremendous potential, not short-term, but long-term. So thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, go Jennifer.
We've been, Terry and I were talking about this, and Alex is now almost 20 years old. So Donna and I have been talking about this since she was a baby. So I will say, we also, remember we used to talk about Exit 49 a lot and I just think sometimes the tourism aspect of our community is not fully understood in our community and how impactful it is. Because I think when we live in a community, we think about tourism as being somewhere else, and it normally is somewhere else for us, but it is here, and there is a lot of money that's generated here. And so I just have to say, 20 years later, it is nice to see this. We talked about the Exit 49 flyover for how many years when Phil was chair, and then to see that go up. And to see that happening and to drive on that now, there's still not a moment that I don't drive on it that I don't think about that. So we have to start somewhere. The MSD, the TIF, we've been throwing that around for a lot of years now. And I really do think that the time is now for us to do something. And we might be small steps and it might be small amounts of money, but that's where it always starts. So I really appreciate the work on this.
I'll add, last week, James Ross, who was on the steering committee, the leadership from Simon, they were in town, so he met with Kaylee and I, and Kaylee went over the presentation. And they said that many of their locations throughout the country have some form of TIF, MSD, or whatever the state calls it. And one of them, I can't remember which one, said, it's about your neighborhood and not about your street or your driveway. So about the greater and the impacts that it makes throughout the area with something like this. So it was really a good, very healthy conversation about this with the Simon Leadership Group.
Right. Thank you. I have two individuals signed up to speak. Donna Carpenter, want to come forward?
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really, on behalf, I think I got nominated this evening to speak on behalf of the Business Corridor Group and Committee to say thank you to the City Council for the opportunity to actually put something down on paper finally. As Jennifer said, I've been in my position for 15 years, and we've been talking about this for 14 years. It took us 10 years to get that flyover and the widening of DeRuyter Road. We're still working on those sidewalks. But it's putting a plan in action and a plan to fund it and a plan that you can actually start somewhere. So on behalf of the Corridor Business Committee, I just want to say thank you to you all for having the vision to hire someone as wonderful as Andrew's group to put this together. It's been an honor and a real pleasure, and we've had some chats in those meetings, spirited chats in those meetings. But I also want to say that at our last meeting, everyone who sits on that committee did agree to approve and recommend that it be moved forward with. So we are in favor of this plan. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Donna. Roberta Medina. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Roberto Medina with Hendrick and Hendrick Motorsports, Hendrick Automotive Group, representing the Hendrick family of companies. And again, just want to echo some of the statements here. Really appreciate the communication. This is a pretty vast study, as you all seen, but the communication, the listening and of our concerns and desires for the area, we're really grateful for, and appreciate Steve and the team here taking the time to do that. And we support this plan and look forward to working with the rest of the members in the community on the details of it all.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And Greg, thank you for being here today, too. All right, anyone else want to speak in regards to this? There's no one else who wants to speak. Therefore, the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, raise your hand.
Mayor, I move, because I've been a part of it, I'd like to take the opportunity. I'm sorry, I'm not done yet. I can't do
Two-step
it.
process.
Two-step process.
So before we move too fast,
Remember that.
let's get the first step.
All right, go to the first one.
There should be a statement of consistency on the slides, the last slide.
I didn't realize that.
It was there last time.
Statement of consistency? Wow. For zoning.
Yes.
Interesting.
Just want to do it right, guys.
You have to adopt the statement of
Yeah,
consistency.
there
and
goes,
then
next
adopt
slide.
the plan.
There you go.
There we go.
There it
So
is. There
the
it was.
statement of consistency is before you. This is written up the same way that staff normally writes them up. So the first two bullet points would be in favor of adopting the plan. The first and last bullet points would be in favor of not adopting the plan. That's always so awkward to say.
Can I do this now?
Yes, sir.
Do this, Terry.
I move that we adopt the statement of consistency that is in front of us on a positive note.
First two bullet points.
First two bullets.
Second.
We have a motion and second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much.
And then we need a second motion to approve adopt the plan.
Adopt the ordinance. Now if I can, on this time, then I'll move that we adopt the ordinance for the Burton Smith plan. So.
We got a motion and second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for getting that done and moving us forward. We'll move now to presentations of petitions and requests. Number one, consider adopting a resolution to sell 314 Sycamore Avenue Southwest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mary described this project on Tuesday to council. This is a property built using home funds. Staff is asking council to approve the sale of the property located at 314 Sycamore Avenue Southwest to homeowner Dara Woodfork for $232,800.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Item number 2, consider approving an owner-occupied reconstruction at 363 Lincoln Street Southwest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mary also presented this item to council on Tuesday evening. This is a unique and great partnership opportunity with Habitat for Humanity to reconstruct a home at 363 Lincoln Street. City's funds would be used in the amount of $139,200.
Thank you. Is there a recommendation from council?
Yes, I make a motion to award the owner-occupied reconstruction of 363 Lincoln Street.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 3, consider a sales structure located in Ram Sewer Park to WeBuild Incorporated.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The third straight affordable home project here on the agenda this evening. This was presented by Valerie on Tuesday night. This is an opportunity to sell property, a home that is currently located at the future Jim Ramsor Park to WeBuild for the amount of $1, which they will use that to renovate and make that part of their affordable home portfolio.
Thank you. Is there a motion from council?
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 4, consider approving a co-sponsorship application by the Logan Community Association.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ian presented this on Tuesday evening. This is a request for the city to co-sponsor the Logan Community Association Logan Community Reunion event to be held at Barbara Scotia College. They do want solid waste assistance and police assistance from the city.
Thank you. Is there a motion from council?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. It carries. Number 5, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the sale of 6 Caterpillar 3516 diesel peak shaving generator units.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jarian from Electric presented this to council on Tuesday evening. This is to sell 6 diesel generator units that have been decommissioned, no longer used for the peak shaving prior to the NTE, now CPP contract. The bidder is D.H. Griffin in the amount of $87,400.
Thank you. A motion from council?
This is Lori's.
It is absolutely an honor to make that motion. Thank you so much. I make that motion that we sell these, please.
We have a motion.
Second.
Wait a second. Okay, any further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Andy, was your hand up? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Number 6, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the sale of 5 station power transformers. That's it. That's it. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Second that.
Any further discussion? There's no discussion. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. All right, number 7, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate a contract with Connor Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. George presented this item to council on Tuesday evening. Sheila referenced it earlier in her presentation. This is a bid to award for the McGinnis Aquatic Center Pool renovation project. The bid, lowest responsible bidder is Connor Construction Corporation. The amount of the contract would be $493,660.
Thank you. Is there a motion from council?
I'll second.
Got a motion and second. Any further discussion? No discussion. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Number 8, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a contract not to exceed $649,000.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. George also presented this item on Tuesday evening, similar to the previous item. This is to award a contract to Musco Sports Lighting for the lighting project at Caldwell Park, be separate and apart from the GeoBond overall project. The cost, as you stated, was $649,000.
Thank you. Is there a recommendation from council? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote? Excuse me? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. I'm sorry, Betty, I didn't know if you were.
No, I was just saying there's a lot going on in District 3.
Oh, yes, there is. Number 9, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Copan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Similar to the previous item, George also presented this item. This is in the Caldwell Park project. This is to pull out and fund the playground equipment, the amount of $597,614.66. This would go to Compton Incorporated.
Very good. Is there a recommendation from council?
So moved, Mayor. Second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? More going on? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 10, consider adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 46 Solid Waste City Code.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Greg went over the various changes that are being recommended by staff. Tonight, we ask that you make those changes and approve as recommended.
Okay, thank you. Recommendation from council.
So moved, Mayor.
Got a motion and second. Any discussion? No discussion, ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 11, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute an addendum to the contract with Edifice General Contractors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jackie presented this item. This is a guaranteed maximum price for Edifice General Contractors for the new fleet services facility. The amount of the GMP is $24,103,451.
All right, thank you. Recommendation from council.
So moved.
Got a motion and second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 12, consider adopting a resolution granting temporary construction easement to Dominion Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jackie also went over this item with council on Tuesday evening. This is a request for a temporary construction easement for Dominion Energy, a project that they're conducting here in Concord. You can see the request would include the following conditions that are listed in your agenda narrative, and there are 3 of those. So staff would ask that council approve the resolution this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a recommendation from council?
Second.
Got a motion and second. Any further discussion? All right, ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. All right, consent agenda. There was no one wanting to bring anything off the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll say that, Mayor.
Got a motion and second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. We're moving to items not on the agenda, the TAC.
TAC never meets in July.
All right, the Metropolitan Transit Commission, Committee. Okay. The Concord County Transit Commission.
No meeting in July, we have one coming up.
Central Iowa Regional Council. WASAC, Water Sewer Authority of Cabarrus County.
Well, we met. Maybe I need to get on another board. Did we meet? I'm pretty sure we did. The true-up was received. We just received the true-up, and then we're also working on the ribbon cutting for the facility, Phase 3, and then, of course, Phase 4 is rolling right along. So that's really all I have to report right now.
Okay. We Build Concord.
So Dr. Graham's out of town. I will defend Jesse. He texted me that his children wanted to come to hear him give a speech. And as we all know that have children, sometimes what they want and what they're willing to do are 2 different things. I think he gave a presentation, just a couple of sheets. Do you have that? Did he give you a presentation for We Build? Steve has it? No? Okay. Oh, well, I'll just go then. So our Kerr Street project we've had a pre-bid. It is out for bid. We expect numbers back within 4 weeks. That'll be a firm price quote, and we expect a 270-day construction. So about 9-10 months, hopefully from now. That's 13 rental units, plus it's We Build's permanent offices. We're very excited about that. Lincoln Street Townhome, the parking lot paving, if we hadn't had 25 inches of rain, would have happened probably today. 3 of the buildings should be complete within a week or so and will be on the market. And the last one, we hope by the end of August, Labor Day. So the Lincoln Street Townhome will be marketed very soon. That's 26 units. The Ram Sewer House that you voted on tonight, which we appreciate that $1. We have a great lot on Poplar Tent that will be next to an historic home that Ken Orndorff has renovated. That's exciting. That will be sold at market, and we'll reinvest all of the proceeds back in the Corbin Street Senior Apartments, which are the RFP for that, for the design, is out this week. On our single-family homes, 5 of the 7 are this close to under contract and will be sold. And then we have 2 other residents that I believe are in our rental units that may be moving into the last 2 into home ownership already. We had We had slides for all this, so I apologize. And the last one's the Malvern, the 266 Malvern, the nursing home. That RFP is going out for the architectural and development phases. We hope to have that out for bids just in a few weeks. So a lot going on, plus a verbal commitment on the 4 acres that I previously told you about out in 28027. So very, very busy. Oh, and there's a new employee. I don't think she's here tonight. So we did hire an administrative assistant / financial Monday or Tuesday this week. She actually has a real estate license. So we think that will be very helpful, and she's actually managed several hundred units of multifamily, so we hope that'll help also. So moving right along.
Thank you. Public Art Commission? No report. We do have one application, and John's working on some more for District 7. So we'll be, when we get that, we'll get together so we can go ahead and fill out all the seats. Concord Uniting Committee? No report. No report tonight. Council have anything else they want to discuss?
I do, Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to thank all of the city staff that worked so hard and diligently to make National Night Out come together across the city, especially those that had to make last-minute changes due to the weather. Thank you again, appreciate it. Look forward to 2025.
Thank you very, very much for that. All right, we're going to move into closed session. Move that we go into closed session pursuant of NC General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 3 and 4 in order to consult with an attorney to protect attorney-client privilege and discuss the location, expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by this public body. Is there a motion? Second. Motion second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. We will thank you for being here tonight, and be safe on your way home. All right. Once we got going.